The fan experience in the days leading up to the Super Bowl, it's going to look different this year, of course, because of the pandemic. But despite health concerns, the football festivities are still drawing crowds ahead of Sunday's big game. Skyler Henry is in Tampa, Florida for Super Bowl 55. Skyler, the NFL faces a unique challenge in trying to keep this staple of the annual event as normal as they can and as accessible as they can. This is typically a place where fans gather, they try out some football moves, which means, many people touching the same equipment one after the other, people close together. How are they pulling this off?
Well, hey, Anne-Marie, good morning to you. It's interesting that you asked that question. So while we were in the experience yesterday, there were, I would say, a significant number of volunteers assigned just to make sure that certain stations throughout the park were being cleaned and sanitized as regularly as possible. There was even a guy going around wiping down the jerseys that people would take pictures behind just to make sure that people were staying as safe as possible. But as far as officials here in Tampa, they've been preparing for this for a little bit more than a year. Obviously, having to adjust in terms of those in-person meetings that they would have traditionally had. They are no stranger to Super Bowls, hosting 5 of them, having to have more of these meetings on Zoom. But they say they are ready, and the NFL is making sure that people are as safe as possible.
Masks are required and fewer people are on the field, but the game is on at the Super Bowl experience in Tampa.
In the past, our events have sort of been measured by a sea of people coming out, which we love, but we don't love that during a pandemic.
There were plenty of kicks and TD passes, but this year, every ball is wiped down in between plays.
Oh, I still feel safe. Yeah, I feel good. Yeah, it's great.
Besides limiting the number of people allowed inside of the Super Bowl experience, there are even more precautions. Volunteers reminding people to social distance when possible, and automatic hand sanitizers like these throughout the park.
Really great compliance. People are excited. People are happy to be out.
The Carlisle family traveled from Iowa to root for the Chiefs. Like most fans we ran into, the threat of COVID didn't stop them from flocking to the city.
The biggest worry was if Kansas City could actually get back to the Super Bowl, because we've had it booked for a while.
Florida resident Scott Spencer is a huge Tom Brady fan.
We're happy to be here. We're happy to be at the experience, and go Bucks.
With attendance limited Sunday at Raymond James Stadium, this experience is the big game for most of the fans here. Their chance to get in on some Super Bowl action in Tampa.
Anne-Marie, one of the president of the Visit Tampa Bay, kind of a Convention and Visitors Bureau Association here, told me that Tampa has hosted Super Bowls in the middle of the Gulf War, in the middle of the economic recession in 2009, the last time the city had it, and now they're dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. So a city that is no stranger to hosting the big game in the middle of crises.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the kind of city that you want to be in the middle of the action now. When it comes to the Super Bowl, obviously fans travel from all over the country to get there. The NFL has really taken some measures to try and make the experience as safe as possible. I know that the people are kind of staggered. There's fewer people going to be in the stands. They're staggered. But are they testing people that are coming into the stadium? What other measures are they taking?
Well, as far as testing, it's more of an honor code in terms of the fans. As far as the media, for us who have to get close to the stadium, we actually are going to be taking some coronavirus tests, as a matter of fact, in a few hours. But in addition to that, we know that there are going to be that 7,500 or so healthcare workers who have been vaccinated, who have been invited to the stadium. Fans will be required to wear masks and socially distance when they're inside of the stadium as well. If they don't have a mask, they will be given one as soon as they enter the facility as well. As for the experience, that was kind of what we saw yesterday too. Everyone required to wear masks throughout the entire park, and social distance when you can, and there are a ton of hand sanitizers out there. Everyone's really kind of doing their part. Interestingly enough, we spoke to the NFL's director of events, special events I should say, and she said that these processes are actually something that they plan out years and years in advance, and the pandemic just added another hurdle for them to try to overcome. So they've been following CDC protocols just to try to make sure everything is as safe as possible. But one of the big pluses is that we're here in Tampa, and despite it being a chilly 50-ish degrees right now, the fact that it's sunny and you're able to be outside, you're able to actually enjoy a lot of these festivities and actually kind of remain relatively safe here.
Listen, don't talk to me about a chilly 50 degrees up here in the Northeast. That's another story.
I know.
The pandemic is certainly sort of a unique challenge that they've never had to deal with before. But one of the issues that they always have to deal with has to do with security threats. So, especially in light of what we saw happen, on January 6th in the nation's capital, I'm sure that federal and local authorities, they're on high alert. What's going on in terms of keeping this a secure, safe event?
Right. Well, this is the biggest national security event since the presidential inauguration a few weeks ago. And obviously, in light of what happened, as you mentioned, on January 6th at the Capitol, the Department of Homeland Security is on high alert, as well as other federal law enforcement agencies who are working with state and local officials to try to make sure that everything goes as smoothly here as possible. The Department of Homeland Security, though, saying that there is no credible threat to worry about up until this point. Still, though, throughout the city, certain points you certainly see law enforcement throughout. Even trying to get into the Super Bowl experience yesterday, there were bomb-sniffing dogs that went around our vehicles. There were security measures to make sure that we weren't allowed to bring in, obviously, weapons or anything like that inside of the event in and of itself. And really where we are right now, which is the media complex, there are certain measures that we have in place to not only check for coronavirus, but to make sure. I think a dog just passed me just now. A canine or two just passed me just now, but there are measures in place to make sure that these events, not only around the stadium, but around the city of Tampa, are as safe as possible.
That's good to hear. Well, you stay safe and also have fun while you're working, Skyler. Thank you. You can watch Super Bowl 55 live this Sunday on CBS or not TV, not into that? No problem. You can stream the game on CBS All Access, CBSSports.com, and by using the CBS Sports app.